So now on to Shibuya. Relatively simple to get to. It's on the Yamanote line, and I'd recommend just get off at the main Shibuya station. And what you want to be doing is looking for the Shibuya Scramble crossing, the main Shibuya crossing thing. I have to be careful here because the Shibuya Scramble is kind of like a building area as well now. But yeah, head for the main crossing. You've got your Hachiko statue there as well, so you might want to have a look at him. And what you want to do is, you've got a choice. Again, I'm going to suggest that you veer towards the right of the crossing. So you head across, right? And then literally just after you've crossed over, there is a little shopping building, and you'll see a sign for a place called Recofan in there. So this is a must-visit place. So if you go in there, just take the lift up to Recofan, and you'll be good. And you come out the lift, and you're immediately into a very big vinyl and CD emporium. Recofan used to be a few streets away, legendary shop, and it did move. I think it's just as good now. It's got just about everything. It's catering a lot to the tourist crowd now, though, so it's got quite a lot of highlighted areas with your sort of city pop albums and things like that. But it's good for everything else as well. I went there a few months ago. I found a lot. I found some extremely affordable used CDs in the CD section, sort of on the left-hand side. And then I got some vinyl as well, which I was really happy about. It was YMO and Pizzicato 5 vinyl, so I didn't actually buy any Japan there. But I was really, really happy with what I found. And I did see quite a lot of Japan there in the racks in the normal sort of rock and pop section. They are stocked just in alphabetical order, but in Recofan, they know their stuff. So you've actually got the solo members' work along with Japan as well in its own named little section. So that was good. You also had more Japan in various different bargain bins, for example, for 12-inch singles or for LPs that were discounted. So you don't just look at the main section, which is going to cost a little bit more. You might want to check out the sale bins as well. But Recofan is just wonderful. The staff speak a bit of English, very friendly, very accommodating. They'll help you to find what you want. Even though it's quite a well-known shop, went there, I think, went there twice on the last visit. It was never that crowded. Didn't matter. I went to different times of day. And they've always got 2 or 3 staff available anyway. I think it's quite a high turnover business because I noticed new stock when I went back the second time. But that's a good thing because it's worth repeated visits. So things I've got in there included the Hosono box sets. I got the Hosono box promotional 10-inch single. I found believe it or not, a Taiwan copy of Dreamcatcher by Sandy, which has got all the songs in different language. And I got some Akiko Yano CD singles in there. It's just a goldmine of a place, really. Very affordable, but it's well worth your time if you fancy a good old dig, and if you enjoy a range of music as well, because you're going to find something in there that you enjoy, no matter what it is. I like the fact that it was unpretentious. It was straightforward. They were very helpful, and everything was easy to find. Unlike in some shops, including Disc Union, I have to say, sometimes you found what you wanted because they knew the artists. They grouped them together sensibly. So, for example, you'd find a section on YMO and it would have Sakamoto, Takahashi, etc., all with it, rather than them being separated out. So you just have to look for the one. So yeah, Recofan, love that place. Can't wait to go back. And the brilliant thing is, you've got another great shop very close by. So you come out of Recofan, you keep walking up the road, and you can't miss a great big yellow Tower Records sign. Really not very far up the road at all, but it's there, and it's multiple floors. It's the biggest record shop probably in Japan, if not the world, very possibly, because it's so big. It's big inside on each floor. Um, I've been there a lot over the years, and it has been reorganised significantly. So I can't promise that the layout will be the same as what I experienced. That basically you've got used and new music on the same floors. They've got specific floors for the sort of K-pop, J-pop bands and things like that, and they host in-store signings and events as well. So they've got a cafe as well. They've even got toilets in there. The whole lot. It's absolutely great. But you're not going to necessarily stick to just one floor, because you might find that things that you want are on different floors. Now, something you need to be aware of, and this actually goes for the Disc Union branches as well. Some of them need you to pay on each floor before you leave. So you can't sort of like build up a whole pile of things from the whole building and then pay in one go on the ground floor. It doesn't work like that. You need to pay at the till on each floor. That is kind of a challenge, because what you want to be doing ideally is hitting that sort of tax-free threshold. So off the top of my head, I can't remember what I think it's 5,000 yen or more that you need to spend in one transaction. Yeah, easy for me to do, I know, but you might want to think about that, because Tower are one of the shops that will give you the tax-free. And instead of it being a something that you get later on, or they reduce the price, rather bizarrely they'll give you it back in cash, even if you've paid on your card. Funny enough, it was a bit different in Osaka. In Osaka, they had a specific till that you had to go to, and then they would do it all electronically. But that was Osaka, not the Tokyo one in Shibuya. But yeah, be aware of the tax-free thing, because it can save you an absolute packet. And Shibuya Tower Records is one of those places where you want to do that, because you're probably going to be paying full price for anything that's new, and the used stock, as with the one in Shinjuku, is generally in pretty much perfect condition, so it's not necessarily going to be that cheap, but can definitely be worth it. Organisation wide is the same as the one in Shinjuku, so I don't need to talk about that too much. But the whole building is just an experience. I've got glass lift, so what I'd recommend you do is go right up to the top floor and just explore, and then take the escalators down from there. You're going to see posters here and there of artists that you're familiar with, that have done in-store signings and things like that. There's a little bit of a gallery there as well, and there's also a couple of spaces that change depending on what's being promoted or exhibited at a particular time. So it's definitely an experience. I think it's a kind of place that it's not just a shop, it's like almost like a mecca, like a museum to popular music. So you could spend a lot of time just browsing in there, enjoying it, listening to the music they're playing over the PA, very loudly, I may add. And then, at the end of it, you can buy what you want to buy. I got a then recent album by Sakamoto and the Tohoku Youth Orchestra, and they gave me a Sakamoto poster for free. I didn't know I was going to get that until I was at the till paying, and they said, "Oh, we've got this. Would you like this?" So I said, "Well, yes." And I got some other albums over my holiday last time with and got a few freebies from the shops. I'm not sure whether those are automatically given or whether it's just I got lucky. I do seem to remember with one particular CD I got that it did say that there was going to be a bonus, because I could recognise the characters where it literally said bonus, but in Romaji. But I didn't know what it was until I got to the counter, and that was good. So yeah, you got your tower. Okay, so let's say you've done tower and you glutton for punishment. You want more. I'd recommend stopping in a cafe or something to take a bit of a break, and check your balance if you can get Wi-Fi as well, because you might be in trouble by this point. So then you've got Tower Records. So what you want to do is walk up the street a little bit where there's a crossing, cross over, and there's a side street that you can go down from the area of Tower Records. Sort of goes downhill a little bit, and then on the side of there you've got a couple of independent shops. They specialise in like jazz and soul and things like that, so I wasn't that interested. But then if you carry on, there's a little hill, and you're going to see a branch of HMV, the HMV Shibuya down there. That is another must visit. It's even better than the one in Shinjuku. Self-contained shop, fair bit larger. The prices, oh god, the prices in there, they're so cheap. I think it's kind of a different style of branch, whereas the one in Shinjuku, everything was mint and it was a bit upmarket and it was priced on the high side, but still reasonable. The one in Shibuya is the whole different end of thing. When I was in there last time, they had this huge table with new arrivals, and they weren't even in bins that you could flick through. They were literally just piles of vinyl. A lot of it was 70s and 80s. It was all mixed, all genres. Some of it was definite like bargain bin stuff, but it was all incredibly cheap. So I got some albums by Juicy Fruits, Hellman's. I got there. I got a Pizzicato 5 vinyl there. Again, though, it's the cheaper side because something's missing. So it's probably going to be that the hobby's missing most usually. Or it could be there's a stain on the sleeve or something. So just look carefully about what you're going to get. But it's so tempting. And if you want something just to play, if you're not especially going to sell it on, or you just like that particular album or that piece of music and you want a Japanese pressing, the HMV in Shibuya is definitely worth going to. A lot of fun there. I was lucky enough to find a first version of a Pizzicato 5 album on CD where they had to withdraw it and then reissue it with different tracks because they'd used some samples of things like Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones, for example, they used on it without permission. So that was later changed, but I don't think the shop had noticed what they had, so I got that for an absolute steal. But then, you've got other under the scale. I think sometimes items in there are a little bit overpriced, particularly the things on the wall, but just keep looking around. But I really enjoyed that Shibuya shop. That was really, really good. Something I've not mentioned yet, which is another kind of shop that you want to consider, and they're literally all over the place, are the general second-hand shops. The most famous name is Book Off, but they might also be called Book Off Super Bazaar, also Hard Off, and they are all part of the same company, and all they do is sell used goods. So that is not just music, it's also clothes, it's electronics, it is homeware goods, games consoles, you name it, they sell it. They're big on sort of like luxury watches and handbags and things like that. But yeah, they're all over the city. There's a couple that are in Shinjuku, just very near to the branches of Disc Union. Also, there's one within Shinjuku Station itself that you get to if you go underground, and then you can take a lift up into the building, and it's sort of like, if I can explain, you can get to it from inside Shinjuku Station, from the underground section, but the building itself is actually outside, and it's on the west side of Shinjuku Station. So Book Off, very, very cheap, but it's kind of like charity shop standard that you get in the UK. So you're rarely going to find anything with an obby, for example, but it is going to be cheap. So if you just want to get some albums on CD, you're probably going to find them in Book Off, but they're not going to have the obby, or they might be missing a booklet, or there might be an ex-rental copy. But when I say cheap, I mean cheap. We're talking like £1 each or something like that. I found 2 CDs by Japan, Jump and Tape Polaroids and Tin Drum, from a 1999 reissue. I think I showed them on previous video recently. I got really lucky. They were absolutely mint with the obby, but the obby was sort of tucked inside, but I could see it. I could sort of see it. 750 yen each, which is, well, it's less than a fiver each, more like £3.50 actually, £3.50 each, something like that. At the time of filming this, and the time I was in Japan, which wasn't that long ago really, it was like 200 yen to the pound. So that just gives you an idea. My math is terrible, obviously, because those things are even cheaper than I said. But yeah, you can find some incredible bargains. What you find with Book Off, though, is that things aren't always in the right place. So you kind of need to look at everything. And it also, that it's kind of annoying because they're showing the spines. So you need to know, for example, what Japan or David Sylvian looks like in kanji, just to be sure that you're going to find the right things. They do sometimes have a Japan section, but not always. And also the other thing they do with Disc Union is they discount the CDs after a time. So they start off, they might be like 1,000 yen or something like that. Then they'll go into a 500 yen section, which is all mixed up, but it's all the stuff that wasn't selling. But you can find some incredible things in there. And then you've got, even cheaper, in some of the branches, you've got a 100 yen section, which is probably slim pickings, if I'm honest, but it's still worth a look just in case. I got a couple of Kikuyano CDs in there, which they're pretty common, but they were good for me to get because I just had it on vinyl. So yeah, Book Off. I really want to go to a big Book Off Super Bazaar that I've heard about. They tend to be a little bit out of town, but they stock everything. They stock used fashion, anything you could think of. They'd have second hand. So I highly recommend you finding good branch of Book Off. The one in Shinjuku is good because it's got quite a lot of vinyl as well. Very, very odd stocking policy though, because a lot of the vinyl albums are spine only on shelves, so you're kind of having to like pull them out to have a look. And what I found was that anything that was any good or anything valuable at all, they had in separate displays, sometimes even behind glass. So it's kind of a strange shop, because on the one hand you can have things which you think are maybe a bit overpriced, and then you have things that are dirt cheap. And I don't think that the staff in those stores are necessarily subject experts. I think they're used to dealing with second-hand goods as a whole, and I think when they're pricing things up, they must have a database that they're going off, because it's nothing's really consistent. You can't haggle though. You can't haggle in Japanese shops. It's not done. I mean, if you're shopping in some countries for records, yeah, you can definitely try to reach a bargain with the seller, but you just don't really do that in Japan. So you have to think about what you're going to buy. Think, is it the condition that you're happy with? Do you think it's likely you might see it later in the holiday? Because that's the other thing. I've sometimes bought things because I thought they were a bargain, and then I found out there's a better bargain 2 days later somewhere else. Or maybe it's like I bought something without an obby, and then I see a copy with an obby for the same price. That's a bit annoying. But yeah, Book Off definitely. It's a very distinctive sign, sort of like black text with orange background. And as I'm speaking, I should be showing you pictures and things of what they look like. But yeah, they're amazing places. The branch locations of Book Off can change sometimes. Not quite sure why that is, but you do find that they do move around a bit. So, for example, I used to go to one which was very near to Kinokuniya, but they knocked the building down, so it's not there anymore, and that's why I was ending up going to the one on the west side of Shinjuku. Um, there was also one definitely inside Shinjuku Station somewhere, but the last time I was there I couldn't find it. Could not find it again. The only reason I found it in the first place, a few years back, was because we got caught in an almighty rain shower and ended up in the underground in Shinjuku Station trying to stay out of the rain, and then randomly came across this little entrance to a book off, so I ended up in there for 2 hours. But yeah, interesting vibe, and you find with the book offs they're pretty popular, so you could find a time where it's quite crowded. Opening times, not really talked about that. Just something to be aware of. Quite a lot of Japanese record shops don't really open until maybe 11 a.m. or 12 noon. The big shops like your HMVs, Tower, things like that, they tend to have pretty regular opening hours. And it might be like 9 a.m., but it's never consistent. So you need to kind of Google where you're going to check. Also check whether or not a shop like Nakano is actually going to be open on the day you go in. You can generally do that by looking at their social media, and they will say if they're going to be closed on a particular date or whatever. Because some of these are small businesses, the people have got to take time off every now and then, so it's not always that easy for them. So they do pick days where they're going to be closed. I'd say try to avoid public holidays, because it may well be that the shop owner decides to take a holiday then as well. On the other hand, they might not. They might think, I'll take the day off after the public holiday so that people on holiday can come and buy my stock. But this is it really. I think as well, you just got to be mindful of whether or not you need cash. Some of the smaller shops, particularly the ones in the sort of northwest of Shinjuku, I think they prefer cash only. It is changing, but you might be better off having some cash with you just in case, because there's nothing more annoying than finding something you really want and then having to go and find a cash machine, which might be a little way away. Although having said that, you can find cash machines quite easily now in convenience stores like 7-Eleven or Family Mart, but they might not be the best ones for you to use. It depends on your credit or debit card, depends on what the terms are really as to which ones you want to use. I was generally sticking to 7-Eleven because that had a better rate for me, but that might not be the same for you, so I'd check it out before you start drawing cash out. But having said that, a lot of places now increasingly letting you do contactless transactions as well. Apple Pay, it's quite widespread over in Japan right now. It wasn't a few years ago, but it is now. So that's also a good thing to do. Other areas where you could find used albums and CDs, there is Akihabara. That's known as Electric Town. It specialises a lot in sort of manga goods. It used to be really famous for sort of electronics and electrical parts. Not so much now. It's very touristified, but you do find that there are some smaller shops down side streets. But it's not somewhere I particularly enjoy, so I couldn't give you exact directions to places. There's Ikebukuro. That's a good little area. It's more popular with Japanese people, I feel. It's not so much on the tourist track, but they've got some really cool places to go to there. They've got a really big book off, which is just before you get to the main sort of mall, which is signposted from the station. Really big, so you just go up an escalator for that one, but you can't miss it because it's got a great big orange sign. But yeah, Ikebukuro is really nice, and it's worth just having a general sort of look around. You've got the mall in there, which I think is called the Sunshine Mall, not to be confused with the one in Nakano. But that is Sunshine City, maybe it's called. ignore me for now. I'm going to put some captions over this anyway with the correct name of the place. But yeah, you've got a really good viewing platform up there. You've got a whole range of different shops. Everything's in there, fashion, lifestyle. You've got really interesting places to eat. It's just a really fun place to have a wander around. I quite like Ikebukuro. Other areas that you might want to go to that are not necessarily for record shopping is Asakusa, which has got the big Sensoji temple. It's quite evocative. You've also got the Harajuku area where Sandy's Hula Studio is, and you've also got a number of smaller sort of record shops around Harajuku, mixed in with the sort of the fashion stores, and you've got little restaurants down there as well. Quite a few nice little windy streets around there, and also then quite close, also quite so close to Shibuya, you've got the whole Meiji Jingu shrine as well, where Japan had their photographs taken in 80 or 81, and you'd recognise some of the sites around there from old photos of Japan themselves. Other sort of spots with Japan interest might be the Keio Plaza Hotel in Shinjuku, where they stayed a few times. And it's where the photo on the cover of Life in Tokyo was taken for the 1982 release. And then you've got the Budokan, of course, which you might want to visit the outside of in Kanda. Another thing I had mentioned recently was to go to Ochanomizu and Jimbosho. So both of those areas are famous for music and bookshops, but you're talking more sort of musical instruments and things like that. But complementary to that, obviously, are record shops as well. So you've got disc unions there, but I know you've got some independent shops as well, which you can just wander into. In particular interest in Jimbosho, with it being bookshops, is you've also got shops there which cater to old tour programs, vintage rock magazines, and things of that ilk. So it's worth having a look around there, because you never know what you might find. I found a Nikiko Gano tour program from about 1988 in a shop for like 500 yen, perfect condition, just there, mixed in with a load of other sort of music books. So that kind of thing is a nice find. So yeah, you find with Tokyo that you can just wander forever and enjoy yourself, and before you know it, you've got terrible aching feet and you need to relax. So I have to say, don't forget to take breaks. I would recommend that you break up your shopping between different days if you can. If you're with a partner that doesn't enjoy record shopping, think about what else they can do as well in the same area, and then you can meet up again. That's kind of a scary prospect if neither of you speaks the language that fluently. But, for example, in Shibuya, you've got the massive Tower Records. That's such a landmark that someone else can be perfectly safe going off to have a wander, and they're probably going to find their way back okay. But I've found that, you've got to try and respect your other half and what they want to do as well. It can't all be about record shopping. But you'd be a fool not to do it when you're in Japan, because it is the place. I haven't even talked about other cities yet. But Tokyo on its own is the best place in the world for record shopping, and I'm sure you'd enjoy it. If you have any questions at all, please do type in the comments below. And if you need to, I'll do a follow-up video on this. I know I've already got to do some follow-ups on things like the Japan CDs, because as people have mentioned things that I forgot to, particularly around bootleg CDs. That's going to be a whole other thing, I think. As long as well talking about some bootleg vinyl, and I'll look at the lineage of some of the different recordings and how they've appeared on multiple different releases. But that's a whole other topic. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If ever you want to know anything more about going to Japan, if you want to know some specifics or you want to ask questions, just get in touch with me. I've done it for quite a few people now where I've given recommendations on where to go, and they seem to have come back happy. So I hope this works for you. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you again soon. So everyone, take care, have a great day or evening or whatever it is, and I will see you again soon. Please don't forget, click like if you like the video, and please do subscribe if you can, because it really helps out. Okay, bye for now.